Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and fellow members of the Senate Judiciary Committee. My name is Hernan Pena and I am the Policy and Advocacy Director at the ACLU in Arizona. I am honored to be here today discussing the results of our research concerning the continuation of private prison systems. As we all know, prisons are meant to rehabilitate the prisoners, but the conditions provided by the private prison sector has made it a priority to incarcerate more individuals rather than set them on a brighter path. Therefore, our research has shown to have a better alternative prison system that returns to the public sector, which offers greater prisoner rehabilitation, a safer prisoner environment, and a better economic investment in our communities. To begin, Mr. Chairman, our research has shown that the private prison sector has lacked in serving the purpose of rehabilitating prisoners compared to the public prisons. Private entities are geared by nature to maximize profits as much as possible, and with dealing with prisoners, that could mean putting profits ahead of prisoner progress. For example, prison labor in private prisons offer low-skill and labor-intensive jobs which are unlikely to provide inmates with any marketable skills once they've been released. For them, a lot of this cheap labor is done to maintain the facility and keep costs low for the company. The main issue, however, is not having the ability to give inmates the alternative lifestyle that could deter them from going back to their life of crime. The proof is in the rates of recidivism, or whether or not prisoners reoffend after being convicted. Between private and public prisons found in our analysis, we've compared the two and found that private prison confinement significantly increased the risk of rearrest by 13% and increased the risk of reconviction by 22%. This is significant because private prisons are viewed as a cheaper alternative, but with rates such as these, we are better off turning to public prisons for better results that we can enforce through government. Not only could we enforce the necessary results we want from public prisons, but we could also ensure the quality of these facilities are there for a better prisoner environment. The primary form of doing so is by managing the amount of staff that work with the inmates. When comparing the turnover rates of employees, we found that private prison companies such as the Corrections Corporation of America had turnover rates of 34% compared to 12% in state-run facilities. The more shocking statistic, Mr. Chairman, is the comparison of 3.8 inmates on average served by one prison guard in a public prison compared to the ratio of private prison staff being at 4.7. This severe turnover rate and understaffing comes as a result of trying to reduce costs to ensure profit, despite what it could mean for the safety of those incarcerated. The reduced turnovers and prisoner-staff ratio is benefited from the fixed salary of correctional officers and the right to unionize, all ensured by the respective governments. Speaking of governments, the need to fulfill these earnings are amplified when states such as Florida impose laws to ensure private prison systems are saving them money. In this state, prison privatization would only be possible by law if it is proven to save at least 7% in costs over a state-run facility. However, prisons primarily spend on their employees as it is their biggest cost. As we can see, the goal of any private correctional facility is to maximize profit, especially through the hiring of fewer guards and other staff. Knowing that there is already a large workload per officer, reducing costs would simply enlarge that workload and make it harder to control the facility from criminal acts. The risk of having inmates being able to become better at crime due to lack of officers is too great to have if we are to reintegrate these individuals into our community. Our investment into criminal justice would just go to waste that way. Lastly, Mr. Chairman, the economic promises of more jobs in the rural counties where these prisons are usually built have been shown to do more harm than good to these communities. In particular, counties struggling with job growth fight for prisons to come to their areas with often disappointing results. These results occur because prison jobs are usually subject to union rules in most states based on seniorities. Such jobs are often filled out by out-of-county residents, as we found. In fact, 68% of the prison jobs in Missouri, a case study that we've done, were taken by persons living outside the host county. Such counties are the cheapest options for private prisons to settle in, but the studies show that the main benefit goes to the corporation and not the residents of the host jurisdiction. The majority of prison employees live outside the county and therefore are not able to provide investment for the locals. Besides prison jobs, the only employers that follow these prisons into these counties are typically Walmart and other fast food corporations that provide the labor market with low-paying jobs and also run over, pretty much take over the businesses that are already there. They're already shut down because of them. Therefore, not only will investment not be brought into the area, but there will also be a lack of valuable job opportunities provided for these prospective employees and entrepreneurs. The only result for these communities could be an increased poverty rate and a non-improving society with these while these private corrections facilities reel in the profit from cheaper real estate prices. These economic disparities aren't as significant in large urban communities, but as long as we allow private corporations to continue earning these contracts, then they will continue to take advantage of these struggling counties under the guise of saving the state money. As you can clearly see, Mr. Chairman, the benefits of building these private entities only favor the wealthy owners of those prisons. The cuts in rehabilitation programs only set up inmates for entry-level, low-paying jobs that give rise to a need for crime's quick fix of financial needs. The hiring of fewer correctional staff facilitate a heavier workload for guards and an easier way to learn how to improve delinquent behavior with less supervision around. Lastly, Mr. Chairman, the lower quality of these prisons make it easier to settle in rural counties with little to no awareness for the lack of investment it will bring to that community. After observing these discrepancies between private and public incarceration, it is time to take control of the progress of our inmates. Under a public prison system, we can ensure our prisoners can have a fresh start after serving their time with more variety in rehabilitation programs, safer and better quality prisons, and less detrimental results for the communities surrounding them. Our current investment in private prisons ensures that those incarcerated don't have a better option outside of incarceration than to just return to their old ways. Having this happen constantly not only fails to accomplish our goals for deterring future incidents of crime, but also ensures the loss of productive citizens. To finish, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, I beg of you to think of these prisoners as not mere criminals that cost us money, but as potentially improved citizens that can contribute to our society through public investment. Thank you all for your time.